Welcome back to the show for business owners, your first 1,000 clients. I am your host, Mitch Russo, and I've been an entrepreneur, business owner, corporate CEO, venture capitalist, and company founder for the last 30 years. And if you're just joining us for the first time, the mission of my show is twofold: to uncover your potential and guide you to realizing it, and provide you with the tools and the wisdom to get your own company to 1,000 clients and beyond. My guests are leaders and business owners who have been selected to share their hard-won wisdom, who want you to avoid the potholes of life and cruise smoothly to your goals. My guest today is a business expert who has mastered the art of perception for the purpose of becoming a human behavior hacker. Now, listeners, we have never had a human behavior hacker on the show before, so I promise you, you are going to enjoy this episode immensely. But this very rare skill came at a cost. She was born with dyslexia and had to learn how to communicate in a completely different way. You see, dyslexia wires your brain with different neural pathways when compared to others. This, at first, was a severe challenge when it came to human relationships and distraction. So much she needed to live in isolated places so she wouldn't suffer overload. She still reads books 7 times before she feels she's comprehended the material. But with every problem comes a solution built in. Hers was the ability to turn this deficit into an asset. Her condition gives her superpowers that allow her to see through normal conversations in either text, emails, or live interactions and spot inconsistencies that others would never see. Her keen understanding of human behavior has proven to be so valuable. She works with politicians, law enforcement, doctors, to name but a few. Her work takes her behind the scenes, where in the shadows she can work unobstructed, yet deliver breathtaking results to her clients. And today she is with us to show you how you can use some of the techniques she's developed to increase your own human perception, gain a valuable advantage and insights with clients, staff, and even family members. Welcome, Susan Ibitz, to the show.
I'm speechless, and that's not something who happen really often, Mitch. Thank you very much. That's quite a presentation. Please don't change it.
I won't change a word. Thank you so much for being here, Susan. I am truly excited to chat with you and find out all the great stuff you're doing and really learn from you as well. But before we get into the meat of this whole mentor session on human behavior, I want to know how this whole thing got started for you.
I was born and raised in a really unorthodox house. My mom was a stewardess when she met my dad on a flight. She was in first class and met my dad, who at that point, he was a diplomat. And during the flight, my dad says, "Will you marry me?" 45 days later, they were married. So that's how unorthodox my family was and is. My parents are still alive. I have 3 amazing brothers and sisters. At an early age, I start having problems, developing problems learning. So my mom started studying special teacher classes to help me, to the point that she put me back to finish high school and put me to college. So I finally started studying psychology because I was really invested in what happened with people and the brains. At half of my master in psychology, I realized I'm not done for the pressure, for the deadlines. I'm really good when I need to explain you something, but if I need to do a test, I need to be put under a test, I cannot take it. Like when you need to evaluate me, I cannot take it. So one of my teachers says, well, I have a friend who's a producer and he's looking for somebody who can help him to produce some segment, and you can make talk a rock. I think you will be great. And so you finally give up on your psychology degree. 6 months later, I have my own show. I had it for a couple of years. I ended up being undercover in Cuba and doing segments. And that's what I find out, that I love what I do. I go talking to people. I can read people. And I think it started at an early age when my parents were moving to different countries. And what happened when you go into different countries as a kid is your brain is an sponge that you can perceive everything and learn languages faster. I speak 4 languages. And I can see when people is going to have reactions and what is happening, even though I didn't understand what the words people saying. And I took that to a career. So I was a weird kid, and now I'm a weird adult with a paycheck for being weird. What else you can ask for?
It sounds perfect to me. I mean, I'm a weird guy and nobody pays me for being weird. So you definitely have an edge there for certain. And it sounds to me like this was a process of discovery. So of course you were born with in a certain way, but this whole process of discovering the asset part of your disability, that to me is fascinating. I'm wondering, when was the first time you really realized that this was a gift instead of a burden?
I think was 7 years old, and I came back from school, and it was difficult for me to relate to other kids. My parents read all the time. My father, it's beside to be a diplomat for many years. He's an artist. He's a painter and a sculptor,
Mm-hmm.
and he have a big studio. And usually on Fridays, he went to the studio, and he didn't leave the studio until he didn't finish a book. So I have the grateful to have parents who were extremely well educated, self-educated. None of them have degrees or master or PhD, self-educated. So I came back from school and I was really frustrated because I couldn't relate with other kids. I always was a weird kid, educated between adults. So I always was an older soul. And I was struggling with the school. And my dad says, well, you are not bad, you're special.
Hmm.
And I love you because you're special. And everybody in the family is special. You have a gift for animals, you have a gift to talking to people. People talk to you in the street, people approach to you. So use that gift to get to the next level. And that was really important when your parents support you and your parents give you confidence in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, again, my mom took classes and to be a special teacher, and she developed a career helping kids
Mm-hmm.
with special needs and education due to she need to deal with that asset to her own daughter. And I guess having 3 extremely successful kids, the 4th one being a person with special needs, then I never consider myself with special needs. I have a special gift.
I love
So
that.
I always look half of the glass full. I always look for the glass full. Like I have a flat tire. Well, I have the chance to take a break. I don't need to be running with the car. I break a nail. Well, I had the chance to do a manicure. My friends get crazy. Like, are you ever mad, depressed, or cursing? Like I curse like a trash bag. But not because I'm frustrated, it's because it's a way to bend and not take it to others.
Mm.
So my parents taught me that I'm special. I become special to weird and I develop a career with that. So I would say parents were really important and family and friends were really important and still are really important in my life.
That's terrific. And you got to keep your potty mouth to yourself here on this show. This is a family show, so no cursing. All right, great.
We're going to have a lot of beep, beep, beep.
I'll need my beeper here. I don't have it handy. So let's get into the work itself. And I before we turned on the recorder, you had mentioned in passing that you're currently training 120 police officers in a SWAT team in human perception. So these types of opportunities start to show up for you. I think that because this is a business show, I'd like to start with, what is your business model? Are you a quote unquote consultant where you charge by the hour? Or do you walk into a project and the goal is to have a final end product and then you bill by the transformation, if you will, by the result?
I would say I need to go back to my parents. Weekends with my dad watching The Godfather, Goodfellas, Citizen Kane. He was a huge Godfather and crime person. And he always says, you don't need to fix things. You need to be the fixer. So when I start going to consulting and people says, well, what you can do for me? My question is, what is your problem?
Right.
And I can fix it.
Right. So do you charge by fixing the problem or by the time you spend?
In human behavioral lab, I'm the person who put the face the most, but we are between 18 to 22 people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are consulting. We have PhD in psychology. We have hostile negotiators. We have ex-FBI. We have people who work in empathy on the workplace. We have people who work analyzing personality types. So we are a huge team of people. And depending the problems that you have in your company or personally is the team who's going to be jump on board.
Mm-hmm.
We have people in the United States, we have people in South America, and we have people in Europe. So depending what is the type of problem that you have. So the first analogy is, for example, we go into a sales team and the manager calls us and says, well, my team is not on top of the game. So we don't start analyzing the team, we start analyzing the manager. Because if all your sales team is having a problem and you're the only common person with that problem, maybe it's you we need to start looking for.
Sure.
It's not something people like, but the reality is sometimes you need to look for one in order to save all of them.
Of course.
And we do a lot of interviews and we talk with people. So what I do is I talk with people and make them feel open about talking what is going on. And when we have a final analysis, says, okay, we consider this can be the best option too, the best option to fix the problem. We have another option if that doesn't fit with your team, but we are not here to make friends. We are here to make a fixing on a problem that you definitely have. If it's not, you wouldn't call us.
Great. So let's chat about that particular engagement. So in this particular case, you went in and you realized that the sales manager was truly your target. At that point, did you need to provide a quote and say, okay, in order to fix the sales manager, it will cost X dollars? And was the goal to fix the sales manager and be paid based on him being fixed? Or did you say our rates are $250 an hour and it should take between 20 and 60 hours to complete this? Which of those models did you use when you were billing this?
Depending on the size of the company and how compromised. Some people says, I want to fix this person. So we do one-on-one coach who is a standard rate per hour, depending on how many people they need.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to bring people from another state or another country, we work on most of the companies that we work is standard consulting. Adult education and adult training is not the same that kids training. Mm-hmm. When an adult take a class or is being trained, after the class is going to retain only 30% of the training.
Right.
So we have a system where we maximize the 30% to 90% that require that every 3 months they're retrained, and every week we send links with self-evaluation and self-training and practice. So most companies, we have contract from between 12, 18, and 24 months. But after 24 months, you have people overqualified, we will say, on the same skills that we know.
So it sounds like you bill on a time basis from the way you're describing it. So if you bring in the consultant spends 8 hours, is there for 5 different segments, you then create a bill based on that. Is that what I'm hearing? Or again, do you quote for final results and no matter how much time you spend, it doesn't matter, they pay the same amount?
If they want a training, like most of the trainings are 2 days and comprehend 4 trainers, right? Because as I said before, we have different aspects. So they want a training for 2 days. We don't train groups more than 12 to 16 people because we have a lot of interaction. Bigger groups are complicated. Mm-hmm. And says, okay, you want 2 days training for 60 people. It's going to be X amount of group. That is going to be the amount. That's what we need. That's the technology. That's what is going to happen. Now, if they really invest in and fix the problem from the core and change the mindset of the people in the company, we never have contracts that are less than 6 months. And that has to do with the amount of hours and how much they want us to be one-on-one. Some people says, I only have a group of 10 people that I need you to work, who are the managers. Mm-hmm. And I need you to be one-on-one with each of the manager for 1 week during 6 months. That is a huge amount of pre, during, and post evaluation, who obviously it need to be paid. In my case, I have 27 years of experience. I have people who have 40 or 45 or 60 years of experience. That is worth it.
Of course. And I think what I'm hearing then is that it really varies all over the place based on the type of projects you do. So let's get into the work a little bit, because I think I'm fascinated by this whole topic. And I've always been a constant student of the human condition and, of course, behavior as well. Give us an example. So, in fact, one of the things I was thinking is you said that you can read faces. So let's take a risk here. Listeners, I don't know what the heck she's going to say, but let's give it a try. Why don't you read my face? and you better be nice. No, you don't have to be. Just be honest and tell me what you see. And listeners, you can help me judge as to whether or not we think Susan is on the level or not. Let's give it a try here. Susan, take it away.
Okay, first of all, I need to see your ears, please. Can you remove? Okay. You are extremely visual. I need to show you. If I'm talking with you after 5 minutes, 5 seconds, not even 5 minutes, and I don't show you, you're going to get extremely bored. Your head is going to be spinning.
Can I put my headphones back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're so pragmatical and so practical that people sometimes think that you don't have feelings, but you are the kind of personality who, if I need to sacrifice an arm in order to save your body, that's the way that you gonna react. You have a pace where things need to make sense to you. You're not jumping on decisions. You're a really well-prepared, qualified person where take all the options before you get to the point. So if I'm talking to you, if I'm giving you an option, I need to give you option and give you time to process. You are a doer. Your process of thinking is you're a mental person, but you're a doer first.
Mm-hmm.
So you're go and do it. You are the one like, okay, let's do it. That's the plan. Let's go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
You are nobody can hurt you because that is your job. You're extremely self-critics of yourself, but that's what make you and put you on the place that you are. It's easy for you to start and finish things on the work side, on your personal side. You're good initiating things, but if you will start a new relationship, you're going to get really excited on the beginning, but after that, you're going to get distracted with something else. And I see you smiling. You're well spoken. You can convince someone on anything that you want. You're a really good seller, but you talk only when it meant to be talked. You're not talking for talking. You have a small mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That meaning that you can be, even though you express yourself as an extrovert, you're careful with the use and proper and place the words you use. And another thing, you develop a gift. When you talk, people listen to you. You have those power pouches who give you authority.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, when people complain because you're interrupting, you're not interrupting because you're rude. It's because your brain is going so fast. If you don't make the questions, you feel that questions are going to be burning in your head.
Exactly. Wow. That was unbelievable. You were spot on in so many ways. And it's interesting. I had no idea that it was possible to have these types of perceptions just from looking at a face. So one of the things that I would say that most of what you said was very accurate, but now let's take the opposite side of that. What issues should I work on to improve myself based on your ability to read my face the way you have been?
First of all, I would say don't be so critical with yourself. Everybody have the chance to make a mistake. And I can identify with you being so surgical and pragmatical. When we are pragmatical people, we tend to say, oh, okay, how you doing? And sometimes it's how you feeling.
Right.
Sometimes when we need to make decisions, or we have friends or people around us who says, oh, my heart is broken. I just broke up with my partner or my girlfriend or boyfriend. It's like, oh, great. It was an X and Y person. Let's go to the gym. Let's go for a drink. Like, no, I need to talk. And like, oh, I'm a fixer. I don't know how to do that. Why are you laughing?
Because several years ago, I had a client who was building a tool to discover a person's why, their core why. So, as their coach and consultant, I was very interested to see what the tool would say about me. So when we did the analysis, and of course, it was early in the days when the tool was not perfected yet, it still required the genius who invented the process to finalize the decision. He came back to me and said, look, the tool got confused with your answers, but here's what it comes down to. You always try to find a better way. So you're a better way person. You can't look at something and be content with it. Your brain immediately starts finding a better way. And so in relationships, where that leaves me is my beautiful ex-wife, in this case, would come to me and say, I want to talk to you about something. And in my mind, it's okay. That's a problem that needs to be solved. I will have to fix this. So you mentioned the fixer, and I totally identified with that. And it took all these years of understanding this to change my behavior, which is deliberate and sometimes difficult because my nature is, in fact, to try and fix things. So great job. You got a lot of that right, and I really appreciate it. For the sake of listeners, I just want to make it clear. Listeners, we are talking to Susan Ibitz. She is a human perception, human behavior hacker expert analyst, and she is exposing us to information that I've never heard or seen before. I hope you're enjoying this show. You can go to yourfirst1000clients.com, look for Susan Ibitz's show page, and on there, you will see every word we've said completely transcribed, including any links, any references that either of us make during the show today, including a special gift, which we will talk about shortly, which I highly recommend you stay on this show to hear about because it could greatly change the way you see people in general. So, Susan, let's talk about the average person who's in business today. And let's pick a broad topic. Let's say sales. How can a salesperson improve their results? Because really, everything you say is cool and interesting, but we care about results. What can a salesperson do to improve their results using some of the ideas and techniques which you've developed?
Only one thing. You and I, we never face each other before this show. So it's not that I have your picture before and analyze your picture before. You put me on a spot and I reply as best as I can.
You did.
And that's what people who does sales can do. Remember when a couple of years ago, they were telling us, 93% of your communication is your body language, your micro expression, the tone of voice. What was the last time the first encounter as a salesperson was a business person you have in person with someone? It's rarely today.
Yep.
What happened is we communicate by email, text, and phone number. So when people says, we need to learn body language and micro expression, I do those, and they were the first one, but we need to learn how to communicate with people, to take the platinum rule to the next level, who is not to talk to you how I want to be talked, it's how you need to be talked. Mm-hmm. Since I can see the size of your ears, they're small, you're visual. So if you're my client and I want to bring you to at least listening to my idea, I need to show you. So I need to send you a PowerPoint. I need to send you a graphic. So I need to make sure that because you are extremely pragmatic, I cannot waste your time because your eyebrows are straight, meaning that you need facts, data, and bullet points. If I tell you a story, you get bored. You get stories because it's part of your program and it's part of what your audience know and want because stories sells products. But if in your point is bullet points, I need to know how much it's going to cost, how it's going to benefit me, and how it's going to be the long-term advantage. So if I can learn 3 things on your face, only 3, the size of your ears, the shape of your eyebrows, and your proxemic, who is how friendly or distance you're going to be, I can sell you whatever you want.
Wow.
The reason in my pictures, I always wear sunglasses and all my media appearances, and I tilt my head is because if you can read my ears and my eyebrows and my eyes, I'm done. You're going to know everything about me.
That's so interesting. Well, I guess for the unskilled like myself, I don't know anything about you, but I'm so glad to see you without sunglasses anyway, because you're very pretty and I enjoy the conversation we're having so much. So interesting, you said I'm a visual person. Something you did not know about me is that I'm an award-winning landscape photographer. I've traveled all over the world and I photograph, and my work is published internationally. So there you go, listeners. She nailed it. And I think, Susan, you did an incredible job. And I like what you said. You said that if I can see your eyebrows, the size of your ears, and what was the third thing? My personality, whether or not I'm
No,
friendly?
proxemic. Proxemic is the distance between your eyelid and your eyebrow.
Okay.
Your proxemic, for example, Mitch, vary. You sometimes have a high proxemic, the distance is really high,
Mhm.
but most of the time when you're paying attention and concentrated, it's low,
Right.
meaning that you can go from being really patient and distant and put distance to people to the point that people doesn't know what is going on, or be really friendly.
Mhm.
You manage that. If I can know that and I feel that you give me the cold shoes, it's because you don't trust me, because the bottom lids of your eyes are flat. So if I can marry that with the size, the distance on your eyebrows, I can determine that you're cautiously paying attention and you don't trust on some of the things that I tell to you.
Mhm.
And I can know that even without knowing you. You Google someone, and today you can find pictures of everyone. So,
That's right.
what about if I can read your face before I can send a
Mm.
proposal to you? So I can say, Mitch, I see that you have a problem. Then that we can watch together. Those are
Mm.
visual words. But if you're an audit person, I can say, I hear you. I can listen to you. Let me talk to you. Those are audit words. So you can translate those words in an email that can make you open my email, reply to my text, or
Mm.
reply to my phone call.
Wow. Wow. That's so powerful. And again, simple, which I love. So this is something that we can apply every day just in conversation. This is something that you could meet somebody in the street or be said. Like today, for example, I drove into Fort Lauderdale at the 27th floor of some fancy building to meet with an executive. And, if I would have had this information before I met him, I probably wouldn't have heard what he said because I would have been trying to measure his ears and eyebrows and stuff. But I also would have probably instantly given me some insights into who this was. So before we even talked, I'd have this incredible edge of knowing a little bit more about him than I could have. Now I have, after being alive as many years as I have and have done all this stuff I've done in life and business, I've developed my own little way, whatever that may be. So I'm still pretty good at perception, but this would give me an edge that I'm excited about. And listeners, I think this would give you the edge as well. Now, Susan, I know that you probably have millions of stories, and this is a completely unprepared question, but I want you to go back into time and maybe come up with a story that you think really illustrates the edge that your work provides. And maybe if it's a fantastic story about something really interesting or clandestine or something, I think we'd all enjoy that. Do you have a story like that comes to mind?
I have one that I can tell. For many years I work, and I cannot reveal the work I did
Sure.
because I have non-disclosure agreements. But I do, and I know the question coming later, so I don't want to go too deep in this. But I do 30% of my work pro bono, and I love
Mm.
it. When I decided to go to private consulting, I talked to all the team and says, "Okay, you don't need to do it," and everybody ended up doing it. But I'm going to do pro bono. I want to help people. I want to put everybody on these magic tricks and this toolbox of superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was teaching a class in a place in CTC Chicago where they help adults between 40, 50s, and 60s who have been in corporate America for a long time, but they're being fired for different reasons. And they need to learn to sell their skills,
Mm.
even though when they're really good, they don't know how to sell themselves. And I had this student who was with me for 4 classes in a row. She repeat every other class, and she always on the back, on the corner. And the 4th class, she came to me and says, "Can you please read the face of my ex-boss?" So I was reading the face of this person who fired her, but before that, she treated her like really bad. I'm not gonna curse, so you don't need to put the beep. And at the end of the reading, I saw a different person. She had thin lips and her lips start coming up. Her posture, her body language, her mannerism were so different. And she started crying. And I learned that crying is not always bad. Sometimes people cry because they're being repressing emotions for so long. And a week later, I have one of the best emails I ever have and says, "You don't have any idea how much you helped me. I was suicidal the first time, then I found out about your class. And I tried everything. And the first class, you talk about empowering ourselves and how we can be beauty. And you share your story about being dyslexic, about being treated like you're nobody, you're never going to get to any place. Your ex-husband cheating on you, needing getting divorced, having an accident. I share my story because I want to tell people I'm not superwoman. I'm like you, but if I can do it with all my problems, you can do it. She says, I was suicidal and I took your class 4 times because I needed to get to the point. I keep doing therapy and my therapist says that I'm doing better, but you don't have any idea how much you validated me, telling me there was nothing wrong. The person who was my boss have all the features that the witches on Disney have, and she's not a good person. And now I have my first interview. And 2 months later, she invited me to have a glass of wine together with the first paycheck she has.
Wow.
I know it's not a like Hollywood story, but it's a story who fit my soul. Then at the end of the day, dealing with so much things, being a behavioral hack and reading people, have those stories are so near to the heart. I'm sorry, my voice break for that memory.
Well, I can understand, and it's a beautiful story. And to me, the unique part about your story is the story you chose to tell. You could have talked about hostage negotiation or your time when, you had to talk your way out of being kidnapped or something. But instead, you told a story about how you helped a person, a human being. And that to me tells me much more about you than even the words possibly could. So thank you for sharing that. One last thing about helping others. If you see somebody and in your everyday activity and you spot that they are having a problem in life or that they're upset or that their attention is not on their environment and potentially could be harmed, do you go over and say anything to them or try to assist them, or do you just mind your own business and keep walking forward? Where do you draw the line?
I don't have a line. I don't have filters. I'm extremely inappropriate. I get my nose and where nobody called me. And thanks to that, we developed a class we call 3 kinds of empathy. Goldman has developed it. We developed another version. You have 3 kinds of empath. The one who's going to cry with you, the one who's going to go and fix it, and the one who's awake, who can listen to you when you're crying and fix it after. I'm the fixer. I'm the one who's going to jump. It's inappropriate. I'm the self-appointed helper. So when I teach on the criminology department in Loyola as a guest lecturer because I don't have any degree, so I cannot have my own class, but give me more fun. And sometimes I spot kids or people in my class and on the break, never, ever in public, never, ever said the name. You can say the scene, but never the sinner. And I says, hey, I saw that you was really engaged on the class. You want to have a drink after class? Do you want to have a coffee on the break? I make question. I measure the reaction because when somebody's going through really bad things, if you don't know how to approach, you can push the person on the cliff. When I was doing my hostage negotiator training, one of my trainers says, what is the difference between empathy, sympathy, and don't care? And says, I don't care. And he says, why? Because sympathy and empathy is going to make the 2 people is going to end it up on the bottom of the building. If I don't care and I use my brain to deal with my emotion and the other person emotions, I have 2 safe people. But if you jump with the other person, now we have two families mourning. So you need to be careful. And the people who is extremely empathic, they go and cry with you. Now we have two depressed people that we need to call two ambulance. So I always says, be careful with your emotions, other people emotions. The same way I need to be careful because I'm a fixer. I tend to jump on fixing point, and some people just need to talk. I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm almost 50 and I'm still learning.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, your story is so interesting to me. My former partner, Tony Robbins, has a incredible track record on hostage negotiation. I'm sorry, on suicides. So I believe the number is over 100. He's never lost a person. So it's over 100 people that he's saved from suicides. And I listened to the way he did it. And it turns out that he's exactly what you just described. He's a bit indifferent, but never matches their tone sympathy-wise or empathy-wise, and instead chooses to show them the effect of what they're about to do versus how they are or what they feel. And so it's so interesting to compare someone like Tony Robbins and the words you're using right now, which are just fascinating to me. So thank you very much for sharing that, and very informative. That's a great story. So we're at the point in the show where I get to ask you a couple of extra questions. And these are questions, I love these questions because the first question I'm about to ask you is instrumental in helping me and my listeners understand more about you, what you care about, and the people that have made an impact in your life. So here's the question. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Good. Who in all of space and time would you like to have 1 hour to enjoy a walk in the park, a quick lunch, or an intense conversation with?
I told you this is one of the most difficult questions. I have a lot, but I need to choose one. It's going to be weird. Groucho Marx.
Groucho. Whoa. Now, I have had over 200 interviews and no one has ever said Groucho Marx. Tell me why.
He was an awkward, social, weird person like I am. He had a really dark sense of humor to the point he was kicked off parties and clubs. Hey, me too. He did gross jokes in funerals. Me too. And I wanted to know why. I never met anyone so dark and inappropriate like I am. I'm still trying to learn manners. My dad, he's 90, my mom is 80, and still like, oh, come on, really? So I would love to talk to him and like what it was to be Jewish. I'm Jewish too. Different decades. To be funny. And I think at the end of the day, I cope with humor to deal with things that have been really difficult in my life. And I think he did the same. And it will be really cathartic to talk with someone. Then I found out so many parallels. Obviously, he was extremely successful. I'm not like he was, but I use his quotes all the time in dating and trainings in my life. I love him. He was a genius.
What an interesting choice of person, and for the reasons you did. So what I find is that some people choose that one individual because of their similarities to them, and in many cases because of the differences between them. And you chose similarity to them, which tells me that no matter what you tell me, there's an element of empathy that you have that comes through right here, right now on this show with me. So I have to call you on a little bit about the way you describe yourself, because I have a feeling you're a little more empathetic than maybe you lead on to be. So
a profiler to be profiled is not fair. We didn't sign for that, Mitch. It's not fair.
Okay, I apologize, but my profile stands. Okay, now here it is, the grand finale, the change the world question, Susan. And here it is. What is it that you're doing or would like to do that truly has the potential to literally change the world?
I never met, and I love history, one hero that has changed the world without changing one person at a time. I don't believe on spread the word. I believe in the first follower. So if I can go to the supermarket, I know it's simple. People would say, save the world, find the cure from cancer. No. If you can go to the supermarket and you're in the line and somebody treat the cashier wrongly before you get to them, if you come to the cashier and says, you're awesome, you're beautiful, you did a great job, I would snap that person before. I would say another word, but I would kill that person. She was so inappropriate and you were so proper. If I can call to your manager and tell him or her how awesome you was, please let me know. And I can get a smile on a person who was make feel bad because somebody else have a bad day and need to make somebody feel smaller. That's how I want to change the world. One person at a time. If I can go to an Uber and talk to the Uber driver and he or she have a bad day, if I have a neighbor and have a bad day, if I can make that person smile that day, that is the way I want to change the world. I know there are people who's more capable than I am to find the cure for cancer, to work in economy, to work in medicine. I'm not good in that. What I do is help people to see themselves as beautiful they are, because that's what I was taught. I'm not imperfect. I'm different. And you know what? Different is rare. Rare is good.
That's right. Totally agree. Well, before I let you go, we talked earlier about you providing a gift for my listeners. And this is a very exclusive gift. Why don't you describe it? And listeners, you'll be able to access a chance to get this gift by going to yourfirst1000clients.com. Go to Susan Ibitz's show page. And there at the bottom will be a link directly to what she's about to tell us. Susan, take it away.
I don't know if after this shows people is going to go to the link or not. What about if we can tell your listening, they can have a 30 minutes one-on-one Skype with me and they can ask whatever they want. They can make me read their faces, rate their significant other, the bad boss, the good boss, the boyfriend, the ex-one, the new girlfriend, whatever they want. They have 30 minutes. And you're going to determine how long this is going to go on until we pick the finalists. And they have 30 minutes one-on-one with a profiler, human behavior hacker. Where else you can have that? Take advantage.
That's right. Listeners, you can't get this any other place except yourfirst1000clients.com. Susan Ibitz's show page is where you'll find the link. And just to be clear, it doesn't mean that if you click on that link, you will get that interview, but you will get a chance to get that interview. There'll be several people, hopefully thousands, coming to the show page, and Susan will pick one to work with, and I will leave it to her to make that decision, of course. Susan, it has been eye-opening, mind-blowing, and completely crazy having you here on the show. Most people listen because they are looking for new ways to build a business and to be more profitable. I think you fit that bill 100%. I think if people were just to take the 3 core tips that you shared during this show and apply them every day, they'd make more money in their business. Susan Ibitz, thank you so much. I can't wait until we have a chance to talk again soon.
Anytime you want. Please be as weird as I am.
You got a deal. You've been listening to Your First 1000 Clients with your host, Mitch Russo. Go to www.yourfirst1000clients.com for a free guide on how to get 1,000 of your own clients. And if you like this episode, please go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review.